May I now introduce Ms. Sharana Saxena and Ms. Neelu Kalro. Ms. Sharana Saxena is Head of Primary, JBCN International School, Oshiwara. In her 15 years career, she has been involved with teaching at both primary and secondary levels. Her expertise has been in implementation of the Cambridge curriculum and the meaningful integration of technology in classroom teaching, as well as having built a team of teachers who are sensitized towards being facilitators and role models for impersonable young minds. Ms. Neelu Kalro, Head of Pre-Primary JBCN International School, Oshiwara, is an experienced early years educator. She holds international certification in curriculum development, preschool teaching, communication skills, and inquiry-based learning models from Cambridge University, the IBO, and Trinity College, London. Ms. Kalro is Honorary ECA Head, Mumbai Territory of the Early Childhood Association, India. May I now request you both to continue with the masterclass.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, class.
Good afternoon, teacher.
Thank you, my learners. And I think it's apt that I'm calling you learners because when I entered here, right, Sharna, the first thing that we saw was how immersed in learning this community is. And over time that we've been sitting there and interacting with people on our table or probably having looks around, that is one beautiful thing that I'm taking back today. So yes, we are also learners, having been with the field of early education, working with the youngest learners of our schools, very foundation years. We know that we are here today to share our learning with you, right? We are honored to be in this august company where you're already heading, leading schools, systems, beyond early years and much beyond. But yes, it's important that we come back to sharing of what are our learnings with each other. So Sharna, shall we begin?
Absolutely. Yes. And one challenge that we have, we hope it's like the last class. Everyone is waiting for the bell to ring and just rush out of the class. So we really hope that we keep you glued. And that's the reason we just thought, let's just begin with an activity. You could just, would you like to take that? Okay. So quick round. Again, just to energize yourself and make sure that you're not sleeping, right? It's a word association game within the given theme. Okay, so if we could just give a demo, we'll just do a quick round, one per table, because one per person will delay the entire process now that we are running short of time. So in case if I say color and I clap, okay, color. Vibgyor, rainbow, blue, colors. Okay, somewhere that way. It has to be pertaining to the theme. Okay, and it's going to be really rapid fire. So we're not going to waste time. It's immediately going to move from one table to the other. Okay, so you could probably choose, or would you be interested in doing this individually? Yeah, I think so. Okay, great. Otherwise, it will need collaboration, right? And I request you all to be loud enough so that everyone can hear. Okay, so let's toss the word school.
Children, teacher, parents, owner, sports.
You've got to clap. Parents, okay.
Culture.
Culture, nice. Principal.
Chalkboard.
Chalkboard.
Classroom. Counselor. Fun.
Nice.
Children.
Children.
Textbooks.
Joy.
Technology.
Very nice.
Recess.
Recess, wow. Yes, anyone, yes. Last.
Sports.
Sports, okay. Fine, so I mean we could go on, this is a wonderful exercise, but kind of just wanted to sum up what the word school would come up to, right? Learning, right? Collaboration.
And so many connections. So if you think back and take a minute to reflect on what we just did, what did we do? We started with a word which probably made a lot of connections in your mind. You had a visual imagery probably. I'm a visual learner, so I see everything in my visual mind first. You thought of the word, you had to clap, you remembered that. Probably waiting, okay, that's the next turn coming. So lot of things happening together.
Can we get a couple of responses? If you have to reflect on this activity, what is it that you felt? Multitasking, okay. Involved. Alertness. Anything else? Association. Nice. Collaboration. Vocabulary. Collaboration, yes. Neelu?
I think that's a quite good mix, yes? Peer learning.
And as ma'am said, involved. Yes, if you ask me, I would say engaged, right? Each one of you somewhere, even if it's been a long day, a lot of things to take away, I'm sure, but this little exercise definitely brought you back and got you involved, got you engaged, right? So it brings us to our topic, engaging environments towards visible learning.
So if I take this topic ahead and I put the thought ahead, in the early years, in the very foundation years and the years beyond, probably when you even transition out to primary, the environments are created, they are set up by the facilitator in such a way that they are engaging and learning happens effortlessly. When I talk about engaging, what do I mean? The conscious focus in these early years is on the core needs, that is social needs, physical needs, and of course the emotional needs. If you look carefully what we've written there, it's by play, collaboration, a school culture, it's a maker space, you're doing discovery learning. At the same time, what are the physical needs in the classroom that you are addressing to make it physiologically good for your learner, where learning can happen? And finally, how is the learner feeling? Are the emotional needs being met? Is there empathy? Is there sensitivity around? And that is what leads to a very engaging learning environment.
And what does that learning environment lead to? In the center, a happy child, right? The focus here, of course, I've kind of limited this consciously. We've done that for pre-primary and primary years. Doesn't mean that this does not apply to the secondary years. But the key word here is conscious focus. Especially during pre-primary years, you do see that the focus areas are the skills, the physical needs are taken care of in terms of gross motor skills, fine motor skills, the kind of equipment that you provide, or the opportunities, social needs. There's a conscious effort to have a collaborative activity, isn't it? But as in how a child moves, does the focus remain the same? We leave you for a minute. As Mr. Mukherjee mentioned, mindfulness and a pause. I would like you to pause and think, is this what we see around us? Are we then doing something wrong? How is it a child who enters a school with a happy face somewhere tends to lose his smile? What is it that we are bogging him down with? And of course, we've not shown heavy bags. Now anyway, that's kind of regulated, but a thought to ponder on. Should I? Yes. So we all identify that these years are the foundation years, each step leading into the next to an end goal. Likewise, they could also be as the pillars of your education or your learning, so to say, school life, right? All leading to an end goal. What might be that end goal? Let me give you a situation here as also.
Send across this presentation so that you can take a look at it.
So there's a very nice book called The Jigsaw Puzzle of a Successful School.
Lovely.
It's a beautiful book, and exactly what you see. Yeah, sure. I don't remember the author now, but the book is called, I think it's Low on Battery. So the book is called The Jigsaw Puzzle of a Successful School. So exactly how you laid out, and wanted us to make this grid about what is your priority or what should be. So it was a puzzle which was made of 11 pieces. And so you had to, pick up the core piece, that what would be the core of your school, and then move outward. And towards the end, and it was a beautiful workshop that it was conducted. It was a 2-day workshop where we discussed each and every piece of the puzzle.
Right.
And how the puzzle just comes together, and it will only come together if you have your priorities right.
Definitely.
So it's a fantastic read for all educators sitting over here, and I'd suggest it so one can
We will
add that to
definitely
that
go back.
list.
Definitely.
Thank you so
Definitely.
much.
See, what we are trying to achieve in this 50 minutes is very difficult. We have to discuss this at length, because this is one very important aspect of teaching and learning and the school atmosphere. It is very important that we have a culture in school. And it's the culture of that school that differentiates that school from other schools. Okay? An integral part of a school is the teacher. And they need to be heard, they need to be taken part, involved in decision making, and see, they will give their best. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Soumyabrata. May I now request Ms. Bharti to present a small token of appreciation. May I now introduce Ms. Sharana Saxena and Ms. Neelu Kalro. Ms. Sharana Saxena is Head of Primary, JBCN International School, Oshiwara. In her 15 years career, she has been involved with teaching at both primary and secondary levels. Her expertise has been in implementation of the Cambridge curriculum and the meaningful integration of technology in classroom teaching, as well as having built a team of teachers who are sensitized towards being facilitators and role models for impersonable young minds. Ms. Neelu Kalro, Head of Pre-Primary JBCN International School, Oshiwara, is an experienced early years educator. She holds international certification in curriculum development, preschool teaching, communication skills, and inquiry-based learning models from Cambridge University, the IBO, and Trinity College, London. Ms. Kalro is Honorary ECA Head, Mumbai Territory of the Early Childhood Association, India. May I now request you both to continue with the masterclass.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, class.
Good afternoon, teacher.
Thank you, my learners. And I think it's apt that I'm calling you learners, because when I entered here, right, Sharna, the first thing that we saw was how immersed in learning this community is. And over time that we've been sitting there and interacting with people on our table or probably having looks around, that is one beautiful thing that I'm taking back today. So yes, we are also learners, having been with the field of early education, working with the youngest learners of our schools, very foundation years. We know that we are here today to share our learning with you, right? We are honored to be in this august company where you're already heading, leading schools, systems, beyond early years and much beyond. But yes, it's important that we come back to sharing of what are our learnings with each other. So Sharna, shall we begin?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And one challenge that we have, we hope it's like the last class. Everyone is waiting for the bell to ring and just rush out of the class. So we really hope that we keep you glued. And that's the reason we just thought, let's just begin with an activity. You could just, would you like to take that? Okay. So quick round, again, just to energize yourself and make sure that you're not sleeping, right? It's a word association game within the given theme. Okay, so if we could just give a demo, we'll just do a quick round, one per table, because one per person will delay the entire process now that we are running short of time. So in case if I say color and I clap, okay, color.
The next association that I'm making, red.
Vibgyor.
Rainbow.
Blue.
Colors.
Okay, somewhere that way. It has to be pertaining to the theme, okay? And it's going to be really rapid fire, so we're not going to waste time. It's immediately going to move from one table to the other, okay? So you could probably choose, or would you be interested in doing this individually?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, great. Otherwise, it will need collaboration, right? And I request you all to be loud enough so that everyone can hear. Okay, so let's toss the word school.
Children. Teacher. Parents. Owner. Sports.
You've got to clap. Parents, okay.
Culture.
Culture, nice. Principal. Chalkboard.
Classroom. Counselor. Fun.
Nice.
Children,
Children.
textbooks, joy,
Technology.
Very nice.
Recess.
Recess, wow. Yes, anyone? Yes. Last.
sports,
Sports, okay. Fine. So, I mean, we could go on. This is a wonderful exercise, but kind of just wanted to sum up what the word school would come up to, right? Learning, right? Collaboration.
And so many connections. So if you think back and take a minute to reflect on what we just did, what did we do? We started with a word which probably made a lot of connections in your mind. You had a visual imagery probably. I'm a visual learner, so I see everything in my visual mind first. You thought of the word, you had to clap, you remembered that. Probably waiting, okay, that's the next turn coming. So a lot of things happening together.
Can we get a couple of responses? If you have to reflect on this activity, what is it that you felt? Multitasking, okay. Involved. Alertness. Anything else? Association. Nice. Collaboration. Vocabulary. Collaboration, yes. Neelu?
I think that's a quite good mix, yes? Peer
Peer.
learning.
And as ma'am said, involved. Yes, if you ask me, I would say engaged, right? Each one of you somewhere, even if it's been a long day, a lot of things to take away, I'm sure, but this little exercise definitely brought you back and got you involved, got you engaged, right? So it brings us to our topic, engaging environments towards visible learning.
So if I take this topic ahead and I put the thought ahead, in the early years, in the very foundation years and the years beyond, probably when you even transition out to primary, the environments are created, they are set up by the facilitator in such a way that they are engaging and learning happens effortlessly. When I talk about engaging, what do I mean? The conscious focus in these early years is on the core needs, that is social needs, physical needs, and of course the emotional needs. If you look carefully what we've written there, it's by play, collaboration, a school culture, it's a maker space, you're doing discovery learning. At the same time, what are the physical needs in the classroom that you are addressing to make it physiologically good for your learner, where learning can happen? And finally, how is the learner feeling? Are the emotional needs being met? Is there empathy? Is there sensitivity around? And that is what leads to a very engaging learning environment.
And what does that learning environment lead to? In the center, a happy child, right? The focus here, of course, I've kind of limited this consciously. We've done that for pre-primary and primary years. Doesn't mean that this does not apply to the secondary years. But the key word here is conscious focus, especially during pre-primary years. You do see that the focus areas are the skills, the physical needs are taken care of in terms of gross motor skills, fine motor skills, the kind of equipment that you provide. or the opportunities, social needs, there's a conscious effort to have a collaborative activity, isn't it? But as in how a child moves, does the focus remain the same? We leave you for a minute. As Mr. Mukherjee mentioned, mindfulness and a pause. I would like you to pause and think, is this what we see around us? Are we then doing something wrong? How is it a child who enters a school with a happy face somewhere tends to lose his smile? What is it that we are bogging him down with? And of course, we've not shown heavy bags. Now anyway, that's kind of regulated, but a thought to ponder on. Should I? Yes. So we all identify that these years are the foundation years, each step leading into the next to an end goal. Likewise, they could also be as the pillars of your education or your learning, so to say, school life, right? All leading to an end goal. What might be that end goal? Let me give you a situation here as also. What is your opinion about her performance? What do you estimate her cognitive ability to be? What do you estimate her IQ to be? If you had to judge Sarah, she scored 99 marks. Quickly, how would you perceive this child to be?
Very smart.
Very smart? Studious? All-rounder, okay. Genius? Hardworking? Okay, kind of sums up. Now if I tell you, Sarah has scored 99 marks out of 250. Does it change your perspective? Does it change your perspective? Did we all get carried away by that magic number of 99? We assumed it was 99%. And we didn't really read, right? Of course, it added that she said, wow, and I said 99
And it's
marks.
quite prominent.
It's quite prominent, isn't it? Did any one of us pause and think, 99 out of what? What is the total? We jumped at 99. Somewhere, we as educators are getting tuned to numbers, to marks. And unfortunately, that's something that is drilling down into the system. Of course, there's a larger facet at the base cause of this, and though we may want to do a lot about it, somewhere we do feel confined by systems. But having said that, does that become the only parameter to judge a child? Is something that we need to make a conscious effort of, a conscious reflection of. So again, coming back to what is the end goal? Is it examinations? How a child fares there? Is it 99.9%? I need to be a topper. I need to be an A-grade student. I'm sure parents also do their bit of pressurizing the children, because that's what gives you an entry into a good university, a good college, and sets a tone for the rest of your life. But again, is that the only thing? How many of us can boast of being gold medalists? Or if you talk about successful people in the world, are all of them those who achieve 99%? So what is it that makes a child successful? Is this the end goal, or will our students be able to reply to this question with an affirmative? Are you world ready by the time you leave school?
It's important to note here that when we talk about world ready, future ready, these are the terminologies we use because they are stepping out of the school level. The target points or the key points that we touched upon was conscious effort, right? So what are we looking? We are looking at the skills of 2020 and 2015. If I may just touch upon the skills of 2020, complex problem solving, creativity, people management, coordinating with others, It's termed as new, emotional intelligence, but I think it's been there quite some time now. We are all consciously focusing towards it. Judgment, decision-making, service orientation, negotiation, and cognitive flexibility, adaptability, whatever you'd call it. Do you see 99% featuring anywhere here? Are we seeing toppers or are we seeing gold medals being featured here? No, we are talking about the core skills that we need to help our learners to develop, to enhance, and what we as schools want to nurture so that our students are future ready or they are world ready. So what is the barometer of a successful educational program? Any thoughts? Anything that you feel is the barometer of an educational program of your school? Is it the one-stop, do-or-die assessment, the summative, the exams? Or is it what happens when you're trying to reach there? Is it what happens along the journey? What is important? So is it I study, I take the test, I pass it, but I forget what I learned, right? Because I haven't internalized it. I haven't made connections. It's not relevant and meaningful to me. So it's only when you make the process your goal that the big dream can follow. So while you're moving towards your end goal, we are not saying that having a 99% or acing in your summative assessment or exams is not important. Definitely it is important. Content mastery is required. But at the same time, leading there, what was the process? How was the process? What were the experiences that you gained? And what are the skills you developed? Because experience does teach you that, right? So was there a shift from teaching the learner? Yeah, it's okay. Moving to teaching the curriculum that got that smile off? Did we start focusing more on the curriculum and somewhere a little shift? So consciously, do we come back to doing what we were doing in the early years? Very consciously. We were creating engaging environments. So why not take it forth, right? That's the provocation for today. Let's take it forth and create those environments. Right, so very dear to me, been with the early years for decades now, by choice, love the joy and the curiosity and whatever they get into the classroom. So what are the key terms we talk there? Fun, one of you said that. Someone said joy, innate curiosity. Collaboration, they love working as teams, they love it. Creativity, imagination, questioning, all the whys that occur. Resilience, right? You fall, you brush yourself up, move and attempt that task again. That's high-level resilience. Play, that is what we nurtured here. And then we send them up to primary years. We began the transition.
So, our question is, are we making a conscious effort to make these a part of our lessons? To create opportunities for these to be alive beyond pre-primary and maybe to a certain extent primary years. We all know we are bogged down, a lot to be expected, as Mr. Mukherjee also said, a lot on the shoulders of teachers. But then are we insisting as leaders, as visionaries, that this is what we need? If you do the practice of what Mr. Mukherjee and Ms. Kinnari spoke about earlier, about how as a school culture we can have a common vision. Of course, as a school, there is a vision statement, mission statement pasted somewhere in the foyer, and you ask your team, I can vouch, I don't know, I mean, honestly, how many of them would actually even know the keywords? Forget about the entire statement. Do you associate with that? And as a team, are you all working towards a common purpose? So if as a leader, we talk about these as being very important skills rather than only and only getting, say, 100% result at the board examination and of course getting maybe a national topper, world topper or something like that, is that the only vision? Of course, that is where we can reach. But as someone said, happy child will always lead to a happy environment, better learning. You like a teacher, you will excel in that subject. Likewise, if you like learning, you're by default going to learn effortlessly. So that's something that we should insist in our teams. So going back to this, engaging environments towards visible learning. I'm just going to replace one word here. Please read only the title. What's the word changed? You're all reading. See, you're not taking instructions. What has changed? Engaging environment. The teacher. Instead of two words, it's the teacher. Right? Now let's look at the comic strip. I taught Stripe how to whistle. Stripe is the dog. I don't hear him whistling. I said I taught him. I didn't say he learned it. Is this the reality in our classes? The teachers know we have taught. This was the plan. I have gone, I have delivered, I have taught. I don't care further. Learning is the child's onus. Are we focusing whether the child has learned? Of course, there is a limitation, but is there a conscious effort that they have learned? Is there a reflection after every lesson or at the end of the week as to whether majority of the class has found a difficulty or whether it's just one or two whom we are expecting? If majority of the class is not understood, is there a provision that we can retouch on those concepts?
We have done that when on an evaluation, maybe it was a practice evaluation worksheet. If the children have not done it well, we have gone back, we have taught
Lovely.
them again and redone the worksheets.
Exactly, and that is needed. And also the ownership of reflecting on your own. The students learning and students reflecting on their own learning is a wonderful process. So yes, very important is we thought chunk the information for easier retention for teachers as well. As leaders, of course, we have the privilege of attending workshops, of meeting people, attending conferences, learning about new pedagogies, about core skills. We all know that. We would be investing a lot in the induction program, elaborate orientations, in our professional development, workshops in the school. After a month or two, if I just touch upon, or maybe if we ask our teachers, what are the core skills? Do you think they would know? Forget about implementing those in the class. Would they even be able to name a couple of them? Because they are huge jargons, isn't it? Critical thinking, collaboration, communication, research skills, this skill, that skill. How about breaking it down the way we do it in pre-primary and primary? Information that is necessary, make it more digestible so that you and I understand. That age group understands. So it's easier for us to implement it and ensure, because I can relate to it. So we just thought, why not do that bit? And since Neelu and I both love researching, that's one of our hobbies, we just came across this lovely person called Dr. Laura Jana, who is a renowned pediatrician, educator, author, health communicator. So one of the TED Talks we saw wherein she spoke about these skills, which she has brought down, simplified, rather than all those universal jargons, simplified it where somewhere the teacher would be able to associate and the same she can ensure that she instills in her learners and the learners can identify the same.
It's worth that I will read this out for you. Yes. Schools lay a strong foundation for reading, writing, and arithmetic. Social and emotional skills, along with several other skills often misleadingly described as soft and non-cognitive, are now acknowledged as critical skills we are talking about. Honing the ability to focus and pay attention, be a good listener, share, take turns, and play nice with others may seem like common sense. Yet, these types of other skills are now collectively being recognized to be of equal, if not greater importance than IQ skills by everyone, from educators, pediatricians, neuroscientists, to economists, entrepreneurs, and business leaders. This is directly her reference, and yes, it's a beautiful thought that she has put forth, and the next few slides is where we're going to talk about it. As Sharna said, getting it down to what is digestible, what is What is something that we can remember and a teacher can put in her unit plan as a skill which needs to be nurtured and developed in the classroom? So let's take a look at that. So what are these me skills that we talk about? The first set of the so-called soft, other, non-cognitive skills. Me skills is nothing but self-regulatory, self-control skills. Self-awareness. You're in control of your thoughts, words, feelings, and actions. Isn't that something that we see in our classrooms on a daily basis? A child who is well-regulated, who's able to understand and deal with his emotions. Resist one's urges, impulses, anger, maybe excessive joy too. There needs to be a balance which learners are able to achieve. Respond, don't react. So is this easy to remember? What are me skills? Self-awareness, completely about self-management. Moving to the next, we talk about we skills. What do you think we would talk about? Social, emotional awareness, collaboration, thank you. Active listening, relationship skills, appreciating different perspectives. There's never that one right answer or one right way. There are many ways to arriving at your right answer. Yes, teamwork, empathy. The biggest of all, empathy. Now,
So if you look at it largely, me skills plus we skills is instrumental in emotional intelligence. Quite a key word, and not just in the education system, but worldwide, even in your job industry. Nowadays, this is the intelligence that's talked about, and why not? We always, right from grade 1, focus on competitions, rarely on collaborations. And what is the skill needed in workspace? Would you survive only competing in a job? Would that be harmonious? Then why is it that we lose that particular skill as we grow? What we loved about Dr. Laura Jana is that when she takes you through, she emphasizes how these things are natural in children. And how in pre-primary years, there is a conscious effort to keep these alive and to hone them. But somewhere as children grow, we make them unlearn their natural way of being and drill them into something that's not going to help them in their real life. So is it easier to break that down again and have them relearn these skills when they have already grown into an adult and learn certain way of living, or rather develop these over the years so that this becomes an inherent part of their personality? Is something that's worth thinking about and reflecting.
Sharna, if I'd add here, what we also understood is corporate trainers nowadays, in corporate setups, you have a lot of mindfulness officers in huge organizations which are only there for the purpose of touching upon the socio-emotional aspects of team leaders and the team right down to the core. So that's a facet of understanding.
So if you look at emotional intelligent people, what's generally said, 9 habits of emotional intelligent people, if you actually are able to categorize them into either me skills or we skills, where would you put the first one? Focus on positivity? Is it me or we? Come on, I need to know that you are engaged. Me, more primarily so, if I have to think of. Define boundaries. We, find solutions to problems. Sorry? Both, but what would you, absolutely, if there's no choice given, but just simply one, where would that come? Find solutions to problems. Me, of course, then you can lead it as a leader, that's a separate thing. Searching for meaning in life. Are continuous learners. Me, yeah. Solves, argues without anger. We as well, because it impacts, isn't it? You can't be having anger only with you. There's someone who's going to be at the receiving end. Surround themselves by positive people. Think and look forward in life. Learn from their errors. So you see, if you actually are able to put this, the 9 habits of emotional intelligent people is nothing but your me skills and we skills. So do you see the importance of these two? moving to the next.
Let's look at why skills. So isn't the terminology very easy to remember? Me, we, now we come to why. What do you think is going to be in why? Curiosity, exploration, asking relevant questions. Let that be alive, right up to the last class and right up to our life, right? Let's ask relevant questions about the world around us. A natural sense of wonder, inquiry, inquisitiveness, and curiosity. Isn't that what you see in children? Including the children who are now growing up. And sometimes you see that in adults too. That's beautiful to watch. Moving to the next skill, the will skills. What would the will skill be? It's going to be the can-do club skill, the can-do attitude, the inner drive, perseverance, going on, even if it's taking time, you're being bogged down, but you will yet persevere to get there. Motivation, whether it's intrinsic or self-motivated. Challenging our own limits and completion of the task at hand, very important skill for today. And determination. These are your will skills. Moving to the next one. The wiggle skills. An interesting keyword, right? So let's see what is wiggle skills. Something that is seen in all our classrooms. Okay, so you have active and agile learning there. You have restlessness, but positive restlessness, which is physical and intellectual. But if you see, normally these terminologies are not seen in a positive manner. A fidgety, movement-oriented child who's antsy is not seen very positively, but that is a sign of physical and intellectual restlessness. So what would you use? A lot of energizers, a lot of discovery these learners end up doing, exploration. They are kinesthetic learners. They need that movement, right? Innovation. These are the ones who may yet have their own makerspace, create their area, and create innovation. Wobble skills?
So, do we know what wobble is? What is that one thing that we associate with wobble? Jelly, yeah, kind of moving. A cycle tire, yes.
And I can remember the Matrushka dolls.
Absolutely. You would have seen those egg-shaped dolls, right? You keep punching them.
Punch me dolls.
And the punch me dolls. So what's so unique about those punch me dolls?
They come back.
Isn't it? So those are called wobbles, okay? So what's the key here? Agility, of course, but bend. Don't break. Adaptability. So you know you're going to bounce back. It's okay, I change. It's fine if I move, but I am back. Flexibility. Mindset of celebrating failure. Learning from failure. A beautiful short quote that we saw. Fail early, fail often, fail forward. Resilience. Able to have or develop adversity quotient. So life will never be a bed of roses. It never turns the way we plan, right? How well do we cope up? How is our response mechanism rather than reaction? Defines, isn't it? So what is it? I mean, I remember having, we had attended a conference conducted by JBCN, and we had Mr. Shamal Vallabh, a noted sports person and who is a trainer and physiotherapist and a sports science expert. And he spoke, he's been working very closely with the Kings 11 group, etc. And he talks about the first thing that they train the cricketers is to learn how to cope up with failure. Because if the person does not come out of missing a catch within a fraction of a second, and if he's going to hold on the thought that I failed here, he's bound to create a ripple effect. So how quick is he able to move out of that mindset and focus on the next is what will make you a winner. And hence it is very important for us as leaders to develop in our teachers as well as in our learners, it's okay to fail. With one little mistake, I'm not going to issue a memo. I'm going to sit across, talk to you, understand, come up with a reasonable goal path. What is it that's not working? How can we together ensure that we can move ahead? As a role model, when you do that, you can lay an expectation that the teacher is going to carry the same ahead in the class. So that's something that we really found very interesting. And the next one, what if?
As the term suggests, what if? Okay? So there's a different way that they're looking at life. There is a lot of imagination there, creativity, they are innovative. The so-called out-of-the-box thinking, possibility skills, everything could have a possibility. Discovery learning, futuristic thought, thinking of a world that is beyond the now and wanting to create that world. That is where changes happen. And changes will happen by those very little ones that enter into our care, into our surroundings, and then move out with whatever we have nurtured, right? That's something we need to remember. Perspective taking. There is no single truth, right? There are perspectives to it. So that is one of the last skills that we're talking about. I want a quick recap here. Let's think if we remember what are the key skills we spoke about. The first one?
Without looking at your notes.
Me skill, we skill, Y skill, wiggle skill, wobble skill, what if skill.
One
Easy
more.
to remember?
Did they say will?
They did.
They did.
And they said it in order. So wonderful.
Can
Give
you all
yourselves
applaud?
a huge clap. Thank you. And that is what stayed back with us. If I put this to a theory jargon of a psychology class or an education or a B.Ed class, I would say a me skill is nothing but self-regulation, this is that theory. So you're again going to link it. This becomes easy for a teacher. So, to ponder on again, are we forming children who are only capable of learning what is already known? Or should we try to develop creative and innovative minds capable of discovery from the preschool age on throughout life? What is the key phrase here that I would focus on is throughout life. It has to go on. So when they leave our corridors and our halls, what they carry is that bit with them. So what is a creative adult? No one but a child that survived and thrived. With that different perspective, with that different look, that creative adult thrived and he is there. He's there to lead on and take the world. Is that being future ready? Is that being world ready? Yes.
So it is okay if children prank around, even at grade 9 and 10. It's absolutely fine to have a bit of commotion in the class. Constructive chaos, if we could put it that way.
And disruptions.
So it's not necessary that silent classrooms mean the best of learning, right? It's nice to have chaos, but a constructive one. So if we can aim at that, you automatically ensure that there's learning happening. And the child is at the center of it, and not just the curriculum. And of course, you're keeping the child alive. Just going back to the definition, I mean, how we also keep changing the education system, the theories, pedagogy, if you technically define it, in the olden times would be, of course, child and the leader of a child, or if you could say approach to learning was called pedagogy, wherein the concern was to transmit the content and the teacher alone took all the decisions about learning. Over years, over time, now the key word is facilitating the learner to master the content. Hence, it is the art and science of teaching or learner-focused education for all ages. The role of a teacher has changed. Of course, everyone knows it by now. We don't need to dwell on it. But again, it's just a matter of reflecting whether whatever we hear, is that what we see in the class. And hence, the teacher holds the key. Do we agree? So we as visionaries may obviously have a great vision, but if we are not empowering the teacher, as Mr. Mukherjee said, if we are not ensuring that they are the true transmitters, how are we empowering them? It's not going to help. So just a quick thing, of course, as we said, content, your assessments, your grades, of course are important. But how do we balance that what we know or what we learn with how we learn? Right? the process and the end result. So learning must be visible. Do we all agree? That visibility, is it only the grade 10 results? It is of course important as school leaders, it is. But is that the only visible learning? So what else can you do at a school level, at a class level? So making learning visible as a teacher, she has tools wherein students are allowed to track and discuss their own progress without waiting for grades. So it's not just your formative tests or 10-mark test, 50 marks test. Is that the only tool? Or do you provide, as ma'am said, reflection on every piece of learning? Are they a part of that journey? Are they a part of that reflection process, whether I have understood? So is that opportunity being given by the teacher? Do you have that? Because that is a clear evidence of a child's learning. So in everyday worksheet, if you have that little reflection box, even if there are 3 smileys to begin with, whether I found it very difficult, I found it easy, or oh, it was a piece of cake. A child able to gauge his own learning is always a very good evidence of visible learning. Microcredits, of course, we all do it, I am sure. You have motivation charts, acknowledging, motivating, encouraging them to have certain skills in place. You assign duties, your homework chart, completion, etc. So all that, of course, microcredits. Are your learners aware of their learning? So reflection, as I mentioned, matrix. When you're giving them, say, a project work or even an assignment, are you very clearly stating them as to what are they going to be judged upon? Are you giving them the rubrics? For a change, do you allow them to come up with certain rubrics on their own? Make them accountable for their own learning. What is the end product? What is the learning objective of this particular lesson that we have? And if I am supposed to be knowing A, B, C things, I myself as a group, as a class, collaborate and we make an assessment rubric for our own class. So it's not because the teacher has said so, it is because I believe that this is what I need to achieve at the end of this assignment. So I am accountable. I have panned this assessment and hence I know that I have to reach up to a certain level in the rubric. And then of course encouraging discussions. How can we expect success in assessment if learners are not considering their ongoing progress as they learn and work, and hence feedback? Very important. Are the teachers only correcting? Redo. And then nobody looks at that page. Is that the reality? It is. It is. I have done my work, now it is teacher's headache. Teacher corrects, it's the parent's headache or the child's headache because I have put my remark. Isn't this something that we all associate with? How many of us are able to fall back on that and see whether the child has really worked on it? Or has he found any difficulty? Has that feedback been given in a constructive manner? So these are a few things that will really make this a visible evidence of learning.
So where are we headed with the education and skills today? After talking about engaging environments, towards replacing it with the teacher at the center, because she is the facilitator, we now have moved to making the learning visible, right? All things that we saw. So when the child himself is able to believe and put forth and give his evidence of learning, he's a visible learner. So what does he do as a visible learner? He thinks about his or her own learning and how he or she can improve their self-motivation, how he looks for feedback about his learning so he knows what to practice on further. What do I need to work hard on? How do I reach that zone of proximal development, to get to the best of what I can do? I ask questions about my own learning and join in learning discussions. That's where a lot of learning and take-backs happen. Peer learning or with the teacher. I listen to others' ideas and investigations about their learning. So when Sharna spoke about projects and evidences, when you give a project or you have something, what is a child's inherent skill? I could be very good in art. So why can I not show my project through art? I may be very good with theater. Why can I not have a 2-minute put up a show or something and tell you about my learning. Continue that with your summative assessment. So aren't you having a balance, a beautiful balance of beautiful bouquet of activities where learners can express what they can do, and that is important. What is it that they can do?
So we're just summing up with the whole thing of course we spoke of engaging environments. If we look at one key person who will make the engaging environment possible, it is of course the teacher. And if we talk about visible learning, it need not be just your grade 10 marks, but when a child, every child is able to say this, that I think, I look for feedback, I ask questions, I listen, and I participate in discussions. He's been a part and parcel of the entire process. He's learned how to learn. And that is a visible proof of your successful educational program. So we leave you with this. And knowing that all of you have stayed here till the end with a promise on making our own learning visible, how would you make this learning visible in your schools?
How does this next task or the checklist that you've made get transferred, and how we put things into action?
And ensure that this is somewhere communicated further,
yes,
and ensure that this happens. This translates into action in your school, and of course foster a learning environment. So we all know by testimony you are all learners, the very reason why you'll hung till the last minute, but ensure that even at the age of 87 we all proudly say I'm still learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Sharana and Ms. Neelu.
Yes.
May I request Mr. Amarnath to give the tour?
For that, thank you, the JBCN team, Kinnari, Soumyabrata, Sharna, and Neelu. Sorry, thank you so much for this really stimulating afternoon. And it's evinced a lot of enthusiastic interaction as well. And I'm sure that the takeaways that you go back with, you'll find very useful. We had a very nice, very thought-provoking morning with Revati Srinivasan as well on leadership skills. And there too, there was a lot to learn. I'd like to, on behalf of everybody, I'd like to thank Amarnath Chayanam for this collaboration. And of course, our partners, JBCN Group and Green Acres Academy. Thank you all very much for being here, and I hope you will be able to implement some of the things that we've talked about today. And I wish you all the best, as Soumyabrata said, as super-duper leaders. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for being here. On your way out, there are certificates on the table. They've been arranged alphabetically. Kindly collect your certificates. And if your name's not there, I'll be there. Just let me know. Thank you.